Welcome back to healing old wounds. In this chapter, I return to my homeland, a place filled with both pain and familiarity. I tried to build a future for myself, only to watch it crumble in the noise of war. This is a story of escape, of faith shaken, and of learning that sometimes survival is the only kind of strength left. My father, the easy-going man, was not crazy about the hustle and bustle, the high cost of living in this coastal state. The decision was made to move to the neighbouring state. Slower pace, affordable, drier weather. More like what he was used to in our homeland. At this point his mind was made up, since he did not care to take the long trip himself. He thought maybe one of his sons would. The task was clear. Go back home, sell the house and everything in it, collect his money, bring Muna and her children to America. Then he would be able to buy a house and live what was left of his life in peace. None of his sons were thrilled about putting their lives on hold and taking the chance of going back home and not being able to return for unforeseen reasons. As for me, just when I thought I had finally found a place I could live and call home, the only place that truly calmed my mind, the ocean, the sand, and the sunset brought out the little happy girl I had lost long ago. I didn't know where we were going next, only that there would be no ocean. I didn't want to move again, and I made sure they knew it. But I had no say in the matter. After that, I stopped letting myself settle anywhere. Forming connections felt pointless when everything around me was temporary. With an invisible leash still tight around my neck, my world grew smaller, limited to a handful of people and shaped by scars no one could see. So when the moment came, I did the only thing that felt like a choice. I offered to go back home and take care of what needed to be done. My father contacted relatives to help guide me through the sale of the house. While those details were being arranged, I stayed quietly wrapped in my own anticipation, holding on to feeling that begun to grow inside me. I had every intention of not coming back. The day had come. My mother is happy to revisit her old country. The long trip flying over many countries and the vast ocean. As I sat quietly, I made a to-do list in my mind. Upon touchdown at the familiar airport, my ears were hearing the language I knew so well. It put a smile on my face. We were picked up by one of my father's friends. My mother and he talked all the way while I was reliving my childhood memories. The familiar streets greeted me. The streets I used to walk back and forth to school, despite the abuse I witnessed most every early morning. The smells of slow-cooked dishes pulled memories from every corner of my mind. The bus stops, the old cars, the stores. This was the place where I spent the first 20 dark and painful years that shaped me in ways I am still learning to understand. But somehow, despite everything, it was still home. We arrived at my home and were greeted by Muna, my cousin, and the 3 children who were truly happy to see us. Even the close neighbours stopped by for a quick minute to say welcome back. I walked through the house, went into every room, said hello to the flat-tiled roof that once witnessed me counting stars before falling asleep. A couple of days later, I started planning my mission. My dream job had always been to be a flight attendant, but that was just a dream, one I had always been told to forget. The idea of gaining independence and travelling to unknown places without a guard was out of the question. I didn't have a car, but I knew the bus routes. I rode downtown, got off and walked, remembering the clothing stores, the restaurants, the smell of spices, shawarma turning on the spit, cooking to perfection. As I reached my final destination on the Air France office, I could hear it calling my name. My heart was full of joy, a big smile on my face. I entered, and the man at the first desk asked if he could help me. I smiled and said, "Yes, I'm here to apply for a flight attendant position." I was 23 years old, and for the first time I felt something new stirring inside me. Possibility, the leash loosening just a little, a taste of control over my own future. Since I was bilingual, my chances of being hired were good. The next step was the paperwork, tests, and legalities. The following week, my homeland became a war zone, a war with a neighbouring country. The sound of American F-4 jets filled the sky, flying so low and so loud that the whole house shook. Chaos followed. Soldiers with guns roamed the streets, bombs fell, fires burned, sirens screamed through the night. Roads were blocked, and people turned on each other, pointing fingers at America. And there I was, holding an American passport. No longer a visitor, no longer one of them. To many I was now a traitor, an enemy. Just when I thought my dream job was finally within reach and I was back in the country I never wanted to leave in the first place, now torn apart by war. Everything I put up with, everything I endured, the only thing I had dreamed of, suddenly slipped beyond my grasp. For the first time, I was making plans for my own future. It felt good. Strange, but good. To feel like I was finally growing up, becoming a responsible adult. But deep down, the little 6-year-old inside me was scared of failing, frightened of the unknown. She still remembered how she was blamed, shamed, and made to feel guilty. How she hid to avoid conflict and cried in silence. How no one ever taught her how to stand on her own. She was never encouraged to make choices, right or wrong. Is that how children became adults? By being allowed to try, to fail, to learn? I wished I knew how to grow up. I wished I had the support, the guidance. But I didn't. I lost trust in humanity a long time ago, and now even my faith in God felt shaken. I didn't understand why doors kept closing in my face, why every time I reached for something good it disappeared in smoke and noise. Maybe I was never meant to find my way. Or maybe I was still trying to walk through the ashes, searching for the road that was meant for me. I contacted one of my father's trusted friends. He came to our door, helped us pack what little we could carry, and drove us out of the city in his old van. My mother and I were dressed in traditional clothing, covered from head to toe, blending into the night. We left nearly everything behind, except the money my father asked me to bring. The van carried us across the border into a neighbouring country. Relief mixed with fear as the checkpoints faded behind us. For the next 2 months we stayed there working with local officials to complete the sponsorship paperwork for Muna and her 3 children. Every day felt suspended between worlds. The homeland I was forced to leave and the uncertain life ahead. Finally, we returned to America, but life didn't stop changing. We moved away from the ocean, the one place that ever felt like home to me, and settled in the desert, The pace was slower, the air dry, and the summers burned with relentless heat. Everything felt still on the outside, yet inside me there was no peace. Not long after, Hakim left the snow behind and moved to the same state. He bought a house and offered Muna and her 3 children a guest house. But only under his rules. She could stay if she cooked and cleaned for him. Ahmad followed soon after, with his new family also settling nearby. One by one, everyone was gathering in the same place again, but somehow it didn't feel like a reunion. It felt like a storm quietly forming under a clear sky. Muna remarried to a man from back home who worked for Hakim. They got their own place. Ahmad's new marriage seemed to bring him success. His Arabic radio station was doing well. Omar met a girl and they lived together. Saad started a small car transport business with his girlfriend. As for me, I was 24 years old, still living with my parents, still under their rules, tired of my whole existence. I had lost my true laughter and joy a long time ago. I didn't know where to go from here or what to do.